and welcome to the morning show. We're coming to you today on WJOPLP Newburyport at FM 96.3 on Channel 9, and also will be available on Newburyport Community Media's YouTube channel at ncmhub.org. I'm your host, Mary Jacobsen, and I'm delighted to let you know that today we'll be focusing on Indigenous Peoples Day celebrations coming up on Saturday, October 11th at Waterfront Park. Event organizer Kristine Malpica of Imagine Studios is here. Welcome and thanks for coming, Kristine.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's always a pleasure.
Nice to see you again. We're also very happy to have two Wampanoag master builders of dugout canoes. Darius Coombs is here. Welcome, Darius.
Thank you, Mary. It's Darius. Thank you very much for having me today.
And Jonathan Perry is also here. Welcome, Jonathan, and thank you for taking time out from being on the move to be with us this morning. We appreciate it. And we also have another participant, Larry Spotted Crow Mann is here. Larry, welcome to the morning show, and thanks for taking time to be here.
Thank you.
Well, Kristine, let's start with you. I wanted to find out from you, how long has Imagine Studios been coordinating programming for Indigenous Peoples Day? And could you say a little bit about why it's important to you and to all of our community to hold these celebratory events?
Sure. Thanks, Mary. Well, Imagine Studios itself has been around since 1998. We're predominantly a performing and cultural arts organization. And so in that capacity, we've put on many concerts and festivals and programs, cultural activities for all ages for many years. And it's really just been in the last 5 years that we've gotten involved since the Massachusetts Indigenous Legislative Agenda and related initiatives to really promote the acceptance of Indigenous Peoples Day as an official city and state and nationwide, hopefully someday, holiday and commemoration. And so we got involved with some local organizations who are also promoting this and petitioning the local city council and mayor, and that includes the Unitarian Universalist Church and others. And so we were delighted to be involved as an allied organization promoting this very important work. And so our city did adopt this 5 years ago, Newburyport, yay. And so we decided that because in our capacity as a nonprofit cultural arts organization, that we could help bring more Native peoples into the conversation and also into the event to share their traditional and contemporary cultural knowledge, arts, music, and knowledge of the ecology and other important things. So that's kind of how we got involved.
Yeah. And this, I believe, it's the 5th year that this has been doing. And it's been growing every year, as far as I can tell, Kristine.
It sure has.
Which is wonderful. And that brings us to one of this year's featured events will be the dugout canoe or mishoon building. So tell us about when and where this construction is going to be taking place, and then we'll talk to Darius and Jonathan about what they'll be doing.
Great. Yes, I'm excited to pass it along to them. But I will just say that we are so honored and pleased to have received a New England Foundation for the Arts grant. It's called Public Art for Spatial Justice. And really, it's such an appropriate grant for this place and for this event to tie into our Indigenous Peoples Day event. So the grant allows us to work with these incredible master craftsmen and artisans and culture keepers, Darius Coombs and Jonathan Perry, Wampanoag master builders of mishoon, mishoonash, which are dugout canoes. They will tell you more about that. And we are working with the Custom House Maritime Museum as our primary partner in this grant, as well as Lowell's Boat Shop. And they are going to construct this mishoon, burn it and carve it and craft it for the public in this very public space at the Waterfront Park behind the Custom House, starting on September 14th. It's going to be coming up, and people will have an opportunity to see it being created, to talk with these master builders, to learn about the traditions and how the continuation of their contemporary culture remains today and how they are helping pass that on to the next generation. So it's very exciting, and you'll hear more from them about it.
It's very exciting and a great opportunity to watch our two master builders in action. So let's shift to the two of you. And I thought it might make sense to talk in the beginning about, tell us about the importance of the dugout canoes, the mishoons, in Wampanoag maritime culture and history.
Jonathan, I'll start out. John, I'm sure will have a lot to add to it, but me being Mashpee Wampanoag, I like to recognize the one who's taught me over the years. I've been doing this for over 40 years, making these boats. And I've had the great teachers of Nanapashmet being Wampanoag, the Darrell Witzes. So those are my elders, have been my teachers, and I've been fortunate enough to grasp onto this type of project, this type of craft, and hone it very well, I feel, Think about the mishoon itself. It's the most common boat you would have seen in the Americas, You got South Central North America, and you have the grass boat, the kayak. You have the skin boats. But the dugout itself is the most common, and it's still used today in Central and South America. And think about that, this type of boat, it's used for diplomacy, it was used for traveling, it was used for trading, to have fun, fishing. And that's how we got around back then, We either walked, we ran, or we used a boat. So it has a lot of deep meaning for us.
Yeah.
For Jonathan and I to have this craft and to have the opportunity to keep on doing it and also pass it down to the younger generation, we're very fortunate to be teachers like that. And to have this event coming up in Newburyport, which I've been up there for a few years now, and work on this boat, show the public, educate the public, people of all ages, and have the opportunity to paddle that down the Merrimack River, which for the first, I can't remember the last time if a boat like that was in those waters.
Oh, yeah.
It is something very historic, so we're looking very much forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget that waterways were the highways for thousands of years. Waterways were how people got around. So thank you for that summary of just how integral these canoes were to the life and times of Native Americans in the Americas. Jonathan, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yes. So like Darius, I was blessed to have some really detail-oriented, careful, well-respected artists and cultural practitioners help to bring me up as a child. So I was really lucky. And sort of some of the same teachers that Darius had, I would add to that list Donald Hopkins, Donnie Eagle, was one who was a master craftsman and, carpenter and definitely showed me and encouraged me and just, admiring his work, his detail, and his careful use of his tools and preparation and all of that. But, Nanapashmet being actually of my family line, which, when I was young and learning from him, I didn't even really recognize the fact that we were related. I just knew he was a community member and spent a lot of time teaching me and coming and having dialogue with my mother in our house. When I was just running around as a kid, and then I grew up and he shared a lot of knowledge and he shared his research with us. I was really lucky. He used to sing with me and my family and helped to get me started on the singing and dancing path in that side of my background. But, just people like that. I would also give a shout out to Alden Blake, Chief Winsong, who was also, I think, inspiring and really a joy to spend time with, and a funny individual, but also a really good teacher. And I learned a lot from him, and also Darius. Darius brought me in and showed me a lot of tips and techniques early on when I was starting off, because I didn't have the opportunity to work on dugout canoes or a lot of large-scale cultural activities like lean-to building. I worked on them here and there a little bit as a child, and then was given the opportunity working at the Wampanoag Indigenous Program at Plymouth Plantation with Darius and a lot of these other practitioners, the opportunity to work on and hone these skills every day, which is not the typical situation for us as Native people with dwindling resources and, you know, a very small fraction of our original territories having, you know, essentially been pushed out of and usurped from, you know, all we once knew. So the opportunity to work on this dugout canoe on the Merrimack River and to paddle on the Merrimack River, for me, is an opportunity to reconnect yet again to a place of my ancestors' travel, trade, and interaction. For me to also show my continuous Indigenous knowledge passed down through the generations against all odds. It's in some ways in the face of all the people who passed laws like the 1675 law that outlawed dugout canoes being made or used by Indigenous people anymore in the Northeast. And so the fact that we are in 2025 making a dugout canoe and paddling it on the river, I think is a way of saying we are here, we are going nowhere, and we are continuing regardless of any injustice, any illegal practice, any uneven application of law and rights. The fact that we are Indigenous people now, always were, and will always be.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan. I can hear how deeply meaningful it is and what a incredible and important statement of continuity and survival. This just the underlying historical meaning of it and the personal meaning for both of you to be able to inherit the legacy and to continue the legacy and then to pass it on to new generations. So it's touch with eternity. So thank you both very much for that description. I really appreciate it. Well, let's talk about how you make them then, since you've inherited and are continuing this art. Take us through, if you would, the stages of construction, starting with, I'm interested in how do you pick the tree? And are there special qualities or a special size that it needs to have? And then take us through the process from there.
Like, how do you make these boats? It's tricky. You gotta know what you're doing.
I'll bet.
Yeah, normally for us, there's a couple different types of trees you would use traditionally, depending on the area. White pine, chestnut, you know, tulip poplar was used a little farther south. But when you're looking for a tree, you're looking for something that goes straight for a while before branching off, and it has to have the girth, the width, you know. Our boats traditionally would be anywhere from a 9-foot one-man boat to boats big enough to carry over 40 people.
Oh, wow.
And those boats would be about 60 foot long, 6 foot wide, right? And you get a lot of people say, where do you find trees like that? And I tell folks, you have to put yourself back in time. For which we had trees over 150 foot in height. The white pines are huge. The chestnuts are huge. They say the wood is so dense that a squirrel can jump limb to limb all the way up the main one, no problem. So yeah, that's how, because of disease, blights, it wiped out the chestnut. The pine, the English came over and used it for masts for ships and shipbuilding, house construction. So everything we have around today is like third, fourth growth. So you got to pick out a tree, right, that you want and how big you want it to be. Once you select one down, you have to burn it down. And how you do that is you have clay. You take clay from the riverbeds and pack it about 6 to 8 foot above the trunk of the tree.
Okay.
You build a fire underneath it, and that way the fire will not extend up the tree. Right?
Okay.
So and as it's burning down, you chip away at it. So you're shaping one of the ends.
Already,
you burn off the other end. Yeah, you burn off the other end and shape the other end. So in actuality, before you even start to hollow the boat out, so the ends pretty much are done. And the way you make these boats, people automatically would think, oh, you chop these boats out from the inside out. No, you don't. What you do is burn out the inside. You burn off the top, then you burn the inside out, and you get the sides to be anywhere around an inch thick. The bottom, you always want thicker. You probably want to be 8 to 10 inches thick. You want the bottom thicker because it forces a natural keel, so you have natural stability out in the water.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right? And how you burn it is that you can't just put into any type of wood inside the slug, right?
Yeah.
Either being chestnut, pine, or poplar. You have to use dense woods. You have to use oaks, cherries, maybe maples. But those types of woods force come down to a lot of hot coals, very minimum flame. And flame you don't want, because flame you cannot control. You want the hot coals so you can burn right where you want it to be, right? And traditionally, how long it takes to make these boats by using fire, by having, you got to have at least two people know what they're doing, because when you're making these boats, traditionally you'd burn all day, all night.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you might have to do 12-hour shifts with some helpers, right? But you got to have somebody who knows what they're doing. And Jonathan and I have been fortunate over the years, worked quite a bit together on projects. And so always him heading one part out, and I'm heading the other time up, you know. And the fastest one I helped made was about 4 days. And we just finished one back in April down in Shinnecock, and which was in Long Island, New York, for the Shinnecock Nation. And that was a 10-foot white pine boat, and I was burning all day, all night. And that was a fast boat, the first fastest I've ever done. And they usually take, I don't know, 5 to 7 days, but this one took 4 days. And so it was a fast-burning log. And being so fast, you have to watch it at all times. Because literally, toward the ends, to the end of the project, when you get the size to be about an inch thick, you can literally turn your head for about 5-10 minutes. You get a good gust of wind, you can take off the whole side with no
Oh,
problem.
gosh. Okay. Yeah, because the flames with the air. Yeah.
You don't want to see that, right?
No, not after you've done all that work to pick the tree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
And you
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to monitor it very carefully then to make sure that you're burning just the amount that you want without it going too far. And it's weather dependent, as you say, then, with the wind coming along. So it's quite the undertaking and requires a lot of very careful. Well, you have to know, as you're saying, a lot of things about the type of wood that will work for the dugout canoe itself, and then you also have to know a lot about the kind of wood that you want to use to burn out the slow-burning wood that will have coals in. That I assume then you dig the coals out when you've gotten the width that you want. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then.
Yes, it is. I was going to interject too in that some of where you're going to use your boat and how you're going to use your boat dictates what design you go with and size. Because if it's a small pond or a small river, you might not need a large vessel, but we made vessels that ranged in size from about 8 feet all the way up to 60 feet or so. Some of the very early observations of Native people in our vessels in the ocean were that we were seeing 50 miles plus off the coast, and that we were in vessels that were longer in length with a larger complement of men in them than the European ships that were coming initially over the horizon. So, and that we sailed them and that we encircled them, though they were under full sail, we were able to circle them, which means we could go essentially about twice as fast. Which says quite a bit about our vessels and how agile they are. Not being a keeled vessel, they're able to be very maneuverable. But of course, with that, it takes a much higher level of skill in how to control your sails and paddles to control your boat in its direction. So that's an intriguing aspect of what my ancestors were doing that I still try to tease out and train myself on and discipline myself to seek out, because it's knowledge that I would like to recapture and to other practitioners and agents in the Northeast to try to reestablish that large scale vessel building and open ocean use and sailing. But you're definitely going to say, if I'm using this in the bay to do scalloping or oyster diving, it's a shelf bay, you don't really need the biggest vessel. If you're going to be in traveling the rivers, maybe you need a medium-sized vessel for travel and trade, There's observations of Native people towing their boats on paths, so heavily ladening them with trade goods for travel, and then actually burden strapping the boat with people just kind of pulling it along like an old water ferry system.
Like on the pictures of the Erie Canal.
Yeah, exactly.
Or mules are pulling the boat along with attached by a rope. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of some. A version of that. So I think, there was a lot of things to be seen and a lot of practices that were done here that, we have yet to really replicate and talk about and educate on. But if you're going to go deep sea fishing for fish like tuna or harpoon whales in the ocean, like the European folks that observed us mentioned, we were harassing the whales from our boats. I don't think we were just harassing them. We were open ocean whaling long before they had the technique or technology to do so. And they were copying us. And, that's well documented on the island of Nantucket, for instance, where they actually talk about building a whaling station with a pier into the sea, like the Indians a mile from them. And they said, they set a post with a seat for a watchman to look out over the water to find the whales, because Nantucket's kind of level. It's not like the island I come from, Martha's Vineyard, Nape, where we have some pretty high cliffs and hills in which you can watch to see the spouting whales and deploy your whalers. So, they had this post, and they said they fastened to the pier 3 canoes, and they're very specific. And these are, the early Nantucket whalers, the folks that become the Starbucks and the Coffins, sort of the famous whalers of Nantucket, quote unquote. But they're copying us. They're apprenticing on our boats. They're learning our techniques and using our technology, even our harpoon designs from our vessels. Longboat. They don't say shallop. They don't say pinnace or pinnace. Whatever the small European vessel was. It's confusing because it's like our word for a war leader, which is pinnace. But so those are things that when you read the old accounts, when you do your research, and even study the archaeological remains of boats that are in situ in the water or in museums having been stabilized, we're able to glean information from all of that to resurrect these traditions and practices. But it's all very important information in choosing the right style and type of boat.
To add on to what Jonathan was saying, the style of boat depends on how you're going to use it. If you're going to use it in ponds, rivers, ocean. If you're going to use it in ponds and rivers, a lot of time those ends came to a slope on both sides. And if you're going to use it out in the ocean, a lot of time they came to a point in the front with what is called the beak in the front and also the back. And what the beak is a top board, part of the log itself that you leave on. And it's like a splash guide, so the waves won't come over the front.
Yeah, and, that makes perfect sense.
When these boats weigh a lot, right? I can tell you a 2-man white pine boat's got probably weigh about 600 pounds.
Wow.
So they're not made to be portaged around. And once they see water, they never, ever see land again. You have them dragged on the shore. And what we do a lot of the time during the fall and winter, because they're not really used a whole lot, is we put large boulders and rocks inside and we submerge them in the water. Then come springtime, we bring them back up.
Okay.
And the lifespan for that would be like 20, 25 years, because once it's under the water, no oxygen can get to it, so the wood will not rot.
Oh,
and
interesting.
as you might know, Mary, there's a lot of these boats have been found over the years that date back thousands of years old.
Wow.
And you got these so-called historians will say, oh, the Native people forgot where they put their boats.
Oh.
It's not like we forgot where we put our boats. We just want there to come back and get them, because this disease happened, and that's the number one killer for our people. But I want to leave you with a story, but like Jonathan was saying, there's a lot of stories out there about people using boats.
Okay.
There's one story where I'm from, right? Living on Cape Cod, there's a place called Nantucket Island, which is, as Jonathan mentioned, which is about 25, 30 miles out in the ocean. And you might have heard of Massasoit being a very
Yes.
powerful Wampanoag leader who met the
Yeah.
Pilgrims in 1621. And what was going on, I think during the 1660s, right? There was a lot of praying towns popping up, praying Indians, and it was placed on Christianity. And what happened is during this time, a praying Indian was talking a lot of bad stuff about Massasoit, right?
Uh-huh.
And a lot of bad stuff. And his son, being Metacomet, being a leader at that time, took over leadership after Massasoit. And Metacomet, known as King Philip today, heard about all these stories this praying Indian was saying, and decided to take a few 40-man boats from a place which is called New Bedford today, and travel cross seas, cross the water to Nantucket Island. And he found this man, and that man did not have a good day. Who was talking a lot of bad stuff about his father, Massasoit. So that gives you an idea how easy it was, how normal it was to go to these islands off the mainland. It was like going across the street.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. When you had a well-made, sturdy dugout canoe, what strikes me about what you've been saying is the versatility of the form of the canoe and how the shape and the size of it would be paired to the anticipated use that you had for the boat. But what also strikes me about what you're both talking about is how important it is to preserve this history and to restore the history about, for example, as you were just talking about, Jonathan, that, the white colonists copied, the techniques, the craft and the artistry of being able to make the dugout canoes, and then methods that had been developed over centuries for hunting whales. And I think it's so important to restore that history and to give credit where credit has been long overdue and missing in the past. So thank you both for that wonderful description. I can't wait to watch you both in action then. But there's other things happening on Indigenous Peoples Day. And Larry, I thought perhaps we might find out from you what will be your activities on Saturday the 11th.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure.
I'm Larry Larry Spotted Crow, enrolled citizen of the Hassanimisco Nipmuc tribe and the executive director of the Okieteo Cultural Center, and I'm really excited to be part of Indigenous Peoples Day Newburyport. This will be, I believe, our third year, and as I mentioned, I'm the director of the Okieteo Cultural Center. We are a multidisciplinary center who are supporting Indigenous peoples throughout the state through outreach programmings, health and wellness, workshops, various outreach programs that we've been doing now for over 8 years, and sharing our services to all Indigenous peoples of the state and beyond. And I just want to say I'm really excited to be here working with Jonathan and Darius. These are two individuals who I've grown up with and watched their work, and I really appreciate them being culture bearers and culture keepers of our community at large. And also, just to keep on that same theme of mishoon, we're looking to bring some of our Nipmuc apprentices who will be like to help out and work with them and be part of that work that's going on there. As was mentioned, the mishoons are a very intricate part of our community, and one of my, I call her my elder, but she's just a few years older than me, but Cheryl Stedler, who's been, she leads the mishoon project for our tribe, and as Darius mentioned, she's been on the project of uncovering some of these mishoons that were hundreds of years old, some almost 1,000, that were discovered in Lake Quinsigamon and other lakes in Central Mass. So it's very exciting. And then hearing some of the observations that Jonathan and Darius were talking about, some of the mishoons that were discovered did appear to look like they were made with outrigging. So as was mentioned, that some of them were even 60 foot large and tied together, so they were outrigging these. And so there was they had a lot of technical skill that is not mentioned. And we think about ships, we think about the European ships, but the technology that was already here was pretty astonishing. And so when we think about Indigenous Peoples Day Newburyport, The Merrimack River is an exciting area. The Nipmuc homeland it extends to 4 states from Long Island Sound to the Gulf of Maine, and the Merrimack River is actually part of that. And so when we think about that area, that entire area where it goes out to the ocean, it's really connecting all of our people, the Wampanoag, the Nipmuc, the Massachusetts, the Penobscot, the Peoples, and the Pennacook. All the different tribes would converge in this area. So it's a very significant area in that sense that has a connection to all the different peoples.
Yeah.
And as we know, tribal representation there is no longer there because the people who were there were ethnically cleansed and removed. And so we, as the Wampanoag, the Nipmuc communities who are, and the northern tribes who come down, people like Roger Paul, we're the remnants of those peoples who live there. We're the descendants and the relatives. And so us being there now, coming back, as it were, is a very significant move. And, Kristine Malpica, who's been doing this through Imagine Studios, has been contacting me, and Okie Cultural Center, who started in Western Mass, we're now right down the road in Raleigh. And so we're looking to really establish a more of a presence here of Native peoples. And, that goes with the Newburyport Waterfront that's being created hopefully soon. And so there's a lot of work that's taking place. And me in particular, as a culture bearer, I've been my entire adult life as a writer, culture bearer, going on close to 40 years now, sharing my work. I'm looking to be part of this event, doing some opening storytelling, and really connecting the people and resources that we have, not only through Okie but through my tribal connections and folks that I know who are, to get them excited about what's going on there and the long history of the area that gives it the significance that it has, that we're all kind of being there now, that a place that was kind of absent for a long time from our peoples for various reasons. So it's a significant space in itself to be there, to do this work, and to bring various artists, storytellers, culture bearers, people like Hawk Henrys and elders like Roger Paul, and then have folks to work with Jonathan Darius and share. And another thing I'll mention about the mishoon, it's about community and having, so a lot of things that are happening while the mishoons are burning, people are cooking on it, they're having meals, and they're using part of the scrapings to make jewelry and baskets and crafts. Like my cousin Brittany, she's at our last mishoon burn, she was taking some of the trimming and weaving with them. And so, when they say Native folks don't waste anything, it's true. So every part is being used. And I believe the ash is probably used for nixtamalization, for pounding corn. And so there's all kinds of things going on.
Wonderful.
And so this Indigenous Peoples Day Newburyport, it's going to be a really exciting event.
Yeah.
And as Kristine mentioned, it's growing. And so that's kind of my role too, to bring the excitement and bring the historical context of why people should come there and support this event.
Yeah.
And why bringing back Native presence to the North Shore is important. Get it for the schools and bringing back the why, how it's enriching not only the area, but Massachusetts also in general. And now that we're coming up on this 250th big anniversary, so there's a lot of happenings going on.
Yeah.
And so how this all ties in, Wampanoag and Nipmuc alike have ancestors who were in the Revolutionary War supporting and fighting. And so all this ties in. We're whalers, and one of the most famous Nipmuc whaler, John Wampus, who has quite the past. But, when you kind of unravel all that, you see some of the intricacies and layers to that. So as you can see, I'm pretty excited about being part of this and doing what I can to support this event.
And you're creating excitement in others, I must say, Larry. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. Well, Kristine, I wanted to get back to you as we prepare to close for the day, because I know you have a very special fundraiser coming up on October 4th. So tell us about Wampanoag chef Sherry Pocknett and what she'll be doing.
Yes, we are so excited to have this award-winning celebrity chef, friends with and relative kin to Darius and Jonathan.
Oh.
Sherry Pocknett is incredible chef. She won the James Beard Best Chef of the Northeast a couple of years ago, the first Indigenous woman, I think, person actually to win that prestigious award. And she is going to be at the Custom House Maritime Museum October 4th, along with Darius and Jonathan and Larry, I believe. And we're going to have a feast to celebrate the completion of the Merrimack mishoon, as it will be called, that they're creating there at the Custom House. And there will be a many-course meal, including seafood and other indigenous foods that are locally sourced and made in traditional manners. And she is an incredible chef, so it's going to be a treat. There's also going to be flute, native flute music by an individual from Jonathan's community who's coming up, and we're excited about that. And there'll be an opportunity to see the mishoon being completed and talk to Darius and Jonathan about their work, and just to celebrate this really truly historic occasion. You know, as Larry said, it's been quite some time, or maybe Jonathan, sorry, not sure who said it, but one of you said it's been a long time since these mishoon were actually launched on the river.
Merrimack,
And it is a historic and contemporary meeting place for many regional groups. And so the idea is for this to be an intertribal event, and also to build bridges between cultures and to educate the public that Native people are still here. They're not going anywhere, as Jonathan said. And we are so honored to be working with all of these culture bearers here. And we hope everyone will come out to October 4th and 11th to see the mishoon launched. It's going to be really exciting. And I just want to mention, I didn't say earlier, in addition to the mishoon maritime technology, there's also a Penobscot canoe maker coming down from Maine, Jason Pardilla, and he is bringing down an 18-foot birch bark canoe that he has made. So we're going to have the meeting of all these different technologies and tribes and people and contemporary artisans, and we're going to have the mishoon and the birch bark launched together. So it really is going to be exciting and historic, and we're really looking forward to it.
Well, me too. It sounds very exciting, an opportunity to learn a lot, an opportunity to share in the festivities, and that's just wonderful. Well, you know, Larry, you used the expression culture bearer, and that struck me. What a noble profession. What a wonderful, noble niche to be filling, because we need that. We need culture bearers, so that's wonderful. And I thank all of you, our culture bearers, in your different ways, and I thank you all so much for taking time to be on the morning show. We've run out of time for today, but it's been wonderful to have you here. And for anybody who wants more information about Indigenous Peoples Day and all of the events that we've been talking about, you can go to the Imagine Studios website. www.imaginestudios.org, correct? Me if that's wrong, but I think that's right, Kristine. And you'll get all the information that you need there. So thank you all so much. I'm really looking forward to learning more from and sharing the event with all of you. I appreciate your taking the time to be here on the morning show with me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Mary. Thanks,
And
Mary.
all.
My pleasure.
Some fun. Thank you. And peace ganache.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. That's it for today, everybody. Please join us again next Thursday at 9 for the morning show. Until then, everybody, please be well. Farewell for now.